Hi, I'm continuing my quest to review every single hoppy beer available ever from Trillium. And the next one is Pier, which they just call an American wheat ale. And I've been noticing a lot of people's reviews of they're like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised how good this one is. Most underrated. Such a good wheat beer. It's a great wheat. But that's because people think wheat automatically always means like a hefeweizen or a Belgian wheat ale, something that isn't very hoppy, or just some American pale wheat ale that has like maybe a medium amount of American hops, but it's like really boring beers that aren't very in your face, might have added fruits and spices. But really, them calling this an American wheat ale, it's basically it's just one of their big pale ales. It's basically an IPA. The only difference is that they use 30% wheat. So I would really call this beer a wheat IPA. That's what anyone else would probably call it. And if they called it that, people might not give it as high ratings. Maybe not, because this batch people have been going kind of nuts for. I've had it a couple times before. I had a little bit of one that wasn't super fresh last winter that was not the best. And I shared this can on the day it was released with a bunch of friends, and everyone's like, whoa, this is really good. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, so I wanted to take a little closer look. It's still very fresh. It's 4 days old, I guess. And it says Gone Fishing on the bottom there. It's 728. And it's 6.7% alcohol. It uses Citra and Galaxy hops. Of course, two of the extremely fruity hops out there, but I've noticed that it's all the Citra and Galaxy beers, even from Trillium, they make a lot of beers where they combine those hops. They're all very different, surprisingly different. And I remember this having quite the dank green nose, and it seems like the description that Trillium put on their website of this beer is really, really apt. I don't always totally agree with them, but what I just read on there reminded me of what I tasted a few days ago, and it's super, super hazy. Like a lot of the cans they have, except actually Vicinity was the least hazy of some of the recent cans I've bought, and the aroma is just really big, and it just smells like orange juice and mango and pineapple juice blend, and really nice thick bubbles and everything's happening. Beautiful beer. I got a light set up here to see the lighting's a little bit better than it usually is, which I'll probably try to keep doing that constantly, because bad lighting isn't as fun. Then you can't see the beautiful beer, and you can see it's got that kind of glow happening when it catches the light right. And yeah, I haven't even brought my nose near this beer, and I can smell it so clearly. Oh yeah, it's really, really big aroma, and just full of orange juice, oranges, and tropical fruits. That's really what it's all about. And there is also a clear green oniony scallion sort of dank nose coming out of there too. That's very reminiscent of marijuana, perhaps. But it's not being taken over at all by the greenness, nor really, I guess the fruitiness is taking it over quite a bit, but it's not making it so that I can ignore the greenness in that aroma. It's got it all going on big time. Maybe it's not quite as green as it was the day it was canned, but a few days later it doesn't really change that much. It smells really good, and I think the wheat is known for adding body and a slight kind of tartness and more clean maltiness, rather than barley that can have just intense barley flavor, which is very clear, I know. But barley can be kind of nutty and make sort of a Honey Nut Cheerios flavor, even though that's oats. But yeah, barley can be nutty and just a little bit different than wheat. Wheat's a little bit more subtle in the actual flavor. And I think also the tartness combined with wheat makes this beer actually, it amps up the juiciness of it. Whew. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's has a really nice tartness that makes it seem like it's double dry hopped or something. Like this is definitely up there with all the other Trillium hoppy beers. And I think the head would stick around a little longer, just still a little warm and humid in the Boston area. Oh yeah. It's delicious. It's got plenty of sweetness still too though. It's got plenty of sweet, tart, juicy fruit finish after all those luscious tropical fruits. And it's not too bitter at all, actually, though. I think they might dial back the bitterness in this one. Of course, they do use Columbus as a bittering hop in this beer, too. But this is one of those beers that really balances the fruit and then also the green salad really well. But then when you drink it, it's so juicy. I think a lot of other brewers do use a substantial amount of wheat in their juicy, hazy IPAs. And I know the Trillium uses a little bit of wheat in just about almost all their hoppy beers, but this one they use 30% and they use white wheat and also flaked wheat, which I think they usually just use white wheat maybe. And the flaked wheat will actually be a fermentable sugar in there. So you're getting definitely some fermented and unfermented wheat character. And perhaps the body's really similar to the other Trillium beers. It's almost fluffy but really grainy and textured, but not too much bitterness. I've noticed that some really wheaty, like with lots of wheat in them, hoppy beers can finish with a little bit too much of a slight astringency and unpleasant bitterness, but this is doing it really well. And you can take pretty big bulk gulps of this, even though it's 6.7%, but I'm not really noticing any heat. It's blending in with the subtle bitterness so well in this beer. And it's lightly spicy on the palate, definitely. Now I'm finally noticing a little bitterness building up on the tongue there. Well, there are absolutely no hefeweizen Belgian wheat flavors like added fruits, or especially there's none of that banana or clove spice that comes from the yeast. This is just a regular Trillium Pale Ale. Fantastic one. With 30% wheat. That's what I'd really call it. Get the rest in there. Good amount of carbonation in this one. Not super, super high, but plenty, I would say. The aroma was just bursting from the glass, so that does it really well. Unlike the Cutting Tiles that I had, their version of Archaic now, that was kind of low in the carbonation and didn't have that explosive aroma that this beer does. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to give this one like another like almost 4.5, like 88 score. I've been giving a lot of the same scores to Trillium beers that I've been reviewing lately, but that's because it seems like on their first canning runs of these beers, they've been making sure that the batches are really, really great. And the only one that I was kind of disappointed with was honestly Cutting Tiles, though it was still an awesome beer, unique flavors and everything. But it just wasn't totally perfect, and this one is perfect. I don't even know if they've ever made a batch of this good. I had it once, like a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, from like a growler, and that looked just as hazy to this, and I think was almost as good as this one. But this is just fantastic. I'll do 89 for the Trillium Pier, what I'm calling it, a wheat IPA. Goodbye.